customize it for their specific use case. So whether it's sales, service, marketing, operations, you name it, we've come across it. And so I'm really here to kind of share with you guys maybe some experiences that we've seen companies going through, some challenges, and how they overcame that with technology.
Yeah, thanks. I know Jason has a hard stop at just before 7, so in the quickest fashion possible, I think it'd be very interesting to learn what people are here for, because there are a number of things that were in the description, and I think it's going to be beneficial for us to be able to frame our talk to whatever is most important and most relevant for each person here. So if you would go around the room very quickly, state your name, the type of organization you're with, and what your problem that you're trying to solve today is.
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Michael Griffin. I work for a company called Truly. We are a all-in-one phone system and call tracking software. We are, much like Tate's organization, vertically integrated, so we don't outsource to Twilio or anything, and we integrate with Salesforce and pretty much every CRM out there. So I'm here to learn more about your experience in bringing in outside tools and integrating from within your CRMs and your experience with Salesforce native apps versus apps that layer on top, and that's the problem that I'm trying to solve today.
Awesome, thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
My name is Greg Watkins. I'm general manager for a company called Analytics Computers. I've been there 6 weeks. I left Oracle after 13 years. Woohoo! Yes, because I'm gone, right?
Yeah. Oracle alumni, yes.
So anyway, 13 years, so big company now. This is like 12 people in the company. A little bit of culture shock there, right? But my job, part of it involves, because it's a small company, a little bit of everything, is reaching out, networking, and getting into this whole sales thing. So that's why I'm here, to sort of be around you guys with some of this sales pixie dust will sort of rub off.
Congrats on the new gig.
Congrats.
Yeah.
Welcome to the rest of your life.
My name is Michael Sevilla. The company I work for is called Fastly. So I'm in the IT, security, cloud space. And I'm actually new to sales. I've been in product development, marketing, or management my entire life. I was telling Keith the story. I decided to cut out the middleman because I saw that. So sales would open the door, and they'd bring me in. I'd answer a bunch of questions. I'd set up the proof of concept. I'd answer all the technical questions. Then they kicked me out, and then the sales people got the big commission. So I just got out the middleman. I would join sales myself. And so I'm actually interested because I'm in the growth markets in my company. So I'm what I call a full stack salesperson. I'm interested in everything from prospecting, from the sales and systems perspective, all the way to closing. So I'm highly transactional. I'm looking at velocity and a lot of things in the pipeline at all different stages.
Thanks.
So I'm Nathan Lovato. I work at a company called Indie Wells. They're an art tech company. I'm actually here for personal benefit, trying to learn more about just tech sales and what it is like out here in Denver. I'm more on the tech side right now. I'm looking to get more into a sales engineering kind of role. So just absorbing and kind of learning from here.
Hi everyone, I'm Dan Levitt. I'm a sales growth consultant with Achievement Dynamics, sales training in Denver. And I'm fairly new to sales too, about 30 years. Software, technology, and now I have a passion to help people that don't have a real great system in sales to be successful. I help them develop this system.
And a past speaker of this group.
Yes.
I'm Keith Dopper with Vision. We're a VDI as a service company.
So what's VEI?
VDI is virtual desktop. If you're familiar with Citrix or VMware, we're a fully managed version of that. We as a small technology company in Denver struggle with top of funnel. And as part of a very small sales team, I'm trying to figure out what we're missing, right? We keep checking the boxes of all the things that everyone else does. Maybe I can learn something different or bring something back to the business that, can automate top of funnel or figure out top of funnel so that we can close more deals.
Am I opening a rabbit hole to ask what top of funnel is?
Go for it.
No, I'm asking.
Yeah.
It's called leads coming in.
What's it?
Leads
coming in.
pipeline.
You guys have
Concept
my
called the
box
sales
here,
funnel.
So
You start off with 1,000 prospects, and you got funneled down to 10
Oh,
deals.
okay, narrowing it down,
Yep.
okay, okay, thank you.
Eric?
Hi, I'm Eric Osteen. The company I solely operate is called SMP Alignment. Work with engineering-led companies that are trying to change their sales trajectory, and I have no particular agenda for what I'm trying to learn here tonight, so someone can take my vote.
Adam?
Yeah, my name's Adam Bodding. I work at a company called Teleopti, which does workforce management, which is essentially software and analytics for contact centers. I'm basically here just to get out and network a little bit and learn some best practices. I'm also strongly interested in potentially going into sales engineering, so if anyone has any background in that, I'd love to speak with you and learn a bit more.
And next month, make sure you're here at our event next month because we have a panel of sales recruiters coming through.
People from Amazon Web Services, Oracle, and several local firms, as well as freelance recruiters.
And some of them will have open recs. Obviously.
If you want to go back to Oracle, oh hell no. Bill?
My name's Bill Moore, and I have a long history in sales. I worked for IBM sales for 21 years, and I'm self-employed now as a consultant. I've been teaching dental practices how to implement digital imaging in their patient care, and which increases treatment acceptance and helps them grow their business. And I'm looking to get back into it because I've kind of taken that where I wanted to take it. And so I'm here to meet new people, hear about new things, to see that's an incredible business. And I appreciate how our work is. I look forward to meeting you.
And last but not least,
Charlie Knapp, and I'm an ex-Oracle product marketing director, looking for my next opportunity after a couple times around at Oracle and Oracle User Group. And James and I have known each other for years, and he invited me to come tonight. So I'm here to learn more about the group and also network.
Charlie is being very modest. Tell him about that user group. How many people was in the user group?
56,000 worldwide.
How much? Again, say that again.
56,000. Yeah, 56,000 end user customers.
So Charlie, the CEO looked at. Don't shoot me for this. The CEO looked at Charlie and says, "Charlie, you're earning more money in this company than I am. It sucks to be you." Pretty much. So if you know somebody in product marketing, or again, part of this group is community, helping out each other. If you need a product marketer, I can speak very highly of Charlie. Like I said, we've known each other close to 20 years. It's scary. I'm getting that old.
Yeah, you met when you were 5.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Got a baby face, that guy.
He's a prime.
Yeah.
I had this head of hair when I was born.
so with that feedback, what do you think are going to be the priorities for the discussion?
Yeah, well, I'm actually surprised that I didn't hear I want to know the magic bullet. Like, nobody said, what's that one software that's going to solve all my problems? And I'm glad I didn't hear that, because nobody can provide you that. There isn't one. I think what we can do is provide you some of the framework that is going to be helpful in identifying and choosing. I heard full growth stack, entire life cycle of a buyer, whether you're looking to find new prospects, fill at the top of funnel, or whether you're looking to do the data analytics on the back end. There's so many products. Anybody have an idea of how many tools were out there in 2011? Anyone?
100.
5,000.
About 150 in 2011. Now how many are there?
150,000.
Well, in the MarTech stack, in the MarTech world, there are about 7,000. Now, when we boil that down into kind of that sales enablement, that sales functionality, we're still over 1,000. And they're changing all the time. So there's no way, I was telling Keith, I came from the finance world, and sometimes people would come to me and say, well, what's that one stock, Jorge? Or what's the perfect investment for me right now? And tell me 3 things about themselves and want me to put together an entire portfolio. And unfortunately, it doesn't work that way, but what we can do is give you that education of, like, here's where to start, here are some places to go.
I think it's also important to add that it's constantly evolving within organizations. So it's constantly changing, and people are doing process improvement. And I think the important thing to do is just prioritize things. So, for instance, I heard I want to fill the top of the funnel, but then maybe also there's some process improvement you can do mid-funnel or close to close too, and just prioritizing those and saying, okay, we're going to tackle one at a time instead of trying to take it all on is really important.
Yeah, no, I like that, and I'm curious. Has anybody ever tried to let's reverse it into the sales perspective? You ever go to somebody and they're like, "Oh no, this is exactly what I need," and you're hearing something else on the sales side, or the prospect is giving you a problem and you have a solution in your mind as to what would work, and they don't see it at all? Anybody ever see that? Like, Tate, I just want to look good. That means I need cargo shorts. Well, maybe not. That might not be the best thing, right? So I think identifying what that's going to be is going to be helpful. How many people are at the end user level? So I heard top of funnel full growth stack, or top of funnel full growth stack, and then you were kind of integrations, individual contributor. Anybody looking at organizational deployments of things?
So,
go ahead.
So, I'm an individual contributor. I'm an account executive nationally, but we are looking at basically replacing people's phone systems and call tracking software if they have, and pay for the two of them. And it's a complicated situation. There are a lot of different stakeholders involved. There's a lot of problems. Like I was telling Eric beforehand, we solve a lot of micro problems for different groups, and so trying to get everybody together to talk about how we do this for you, this for you, this for you, and we all work together now to help everybody can be a real challenge.
Jason, you were saying something when we were talking earlier about getting people to commit the time.
Yeah, I mean, it's time commitment, it's buy-in, because people have different priorities. So if you're working with a service organization, their priorities are going to be very different than a sales organization. So I think getting buy-in from everybody is important, and agreeing on what those commonalities and priorities are.
Is anybody, from an internal perspective, is anybody facing that they think they need something, but the higher-ups don't think you do? Like, I need more of this type of, I need to get more leads, so I need a software that's going to get me that. And the higher-ups are like, just make more phone calls. Anybody? Yeah? So I saw a couple there. There's a half hand there.
Yeah.
Okay. I'd love to hear a little bit more about that in terms of why. And the reason I ask that is because I'll do this with, so I mentioned I sell a CRM to universities. And one of the tools that I use is asking them why as many times as possible, and make them sell themselves on my software. Nobody here is in my market, so we can kind of do a little game here. But we could say, what is it? Why do you think you need more prospects? Because because I'm not making enough phone calls. Well, why aren't you making enough phone calls? Well, because I don't have enough people to call. Why don't we have enough people to call? Because of this. Are they not the right people? Maybe there's a different kind of software that we need. The more whys we get to will help us to identify what that root cause, because I faced this with my CEO. I was like, I don't have enough time to do this, this, and this. She's like, well, why not? I said, well, because I'm spending too much time, or I don't have enough visibility of my prospects. Well, why don't you have enough visibility of my prospects? And I got frustrated. I was like, can't we just get a new damn CRM? Yeah, that didn't work. Because, and she was really good at identifying and saying, let's not throw systems at a process problem. Maybe there's a process that we need to analyze before we put a system to actually improve that process. Do you have anything on that?
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I mean, we were just talking to a client the other day that we were recommending, hey, listen, here's how the strategy you should take leveraging technology to increase the top of the funnel, because they were focused on getting higher conversion rates. And they ended up coming back to us and say, hey, going through this process, we actually realized we needed to put further kind of definition around our process before implementing technology around that.
So real quickly, this seems like my background. I've been using Salesforce since version 1.0, and I've had experience in like 3 to 4 other systems. Jorge, what do you think are the 2 biggest challenges for organizations? Like, what in the process do you fix? Like, the 2 biggest challenges. And Jason, once he addresses that, could you tell us about 2 different types of technologies or like process improvements and combinations that they might be able to look at?
Oh gosh. I going to my framework mentality again, I would say it depends. It depends on if you're a B2B company or a B2B.
Company. Everybody in here is B2B.
Everybody's here B2B except for Tate.
Except for me.
Right. Actually, you're close. You're close to B2B.
It depends on if you're doing a transactional sale, I heard transactional sales, or if you're doing long cycle enterprise sales. Like, that's going to dictate a lot of what it is. It's also important to understand whether your corporate strategy is aligned with what you're trying to do, because you can fight the CEO all you want on a new system. If it points this direction and corporate strategy is going this direction, you're going to diverge. So everything needs to be very much aligned. So from an internal perspective, one of the challenges that we found was, what's the biggest problem that we are trying to face? And that is very institutionally dependent. For us, it was visibility end to end. So right now we're a very small organization. Salesperson, CEO, marketer, COO, there are like 10 of us, lots of developers. Business side, there are 5 of us. Each individual has their own tasks, and I could say I need more leads, but that marketer was also looking at they were also doing some CX things, and then, so she was doing top of funnel and then bottom of funnel, like out the other side. So, and I was trying to operate in between, and we didn't have visibility over like who was talking to who. We had a CRM, but they weren't integrated with each of the endpoints. So we didn't have any of that. So for us, it was really identifying the core problem that we're trying to solve and focusing on what we want to be solving in a few years. I don't know if that answers your question, James.
It's getting there. So what I heard from you was a couple things. You were wondering, there seemed like tell me if I'm wrong, and Jason, you heard this too. There was a disconnect between him and his marketing person about visibility. Each person had different priorities, and they weren't they were communicating, but they weren't communicating in systems. And then all the information wasn't rolling up to the CEO. The CEO was reading the data differently. Is that good?
I don't think you had different priorities. You probably had similar priorities. It was like, let's close some sales.
Yeah.
They were probably both going the same direction. The problem was they weren't collaborating together, so there was probably some overlap in what you were doing with what your marketing was doing. And that's honestly, that's really common. It's really tough to have like one holistic solution. We do see it with some organizations, but I would say 95% of the companies we talk to, there's data silos all over the place, and it's a long-term project, but they try to get to a consolidation so you get that full view, not only from sales and marketing, but all the way through to service, operations, and even accounting, so that everybody's working on the same system.
Is it fair to say that, I mean, to me, to be honest, I feel like that sounds just like a lack of communication. Like, I feel like it's a lot of people trying to accomplish the same thing, and they have their designated roles, but as you said, there's overlap. And I feel like that's like a lack of efficiency, because if you just had your designated role and you knew what your responsibilities were and there were better communication.
The problem is with startups. No, you absolutely are. And
I'll jump in for just 90 seconds. The difference, we've had multiple meetings about marketing versus sales. How do they stop miscommunicating with each other? And the messages that marketing puts out and the message that sales puts out are very, very different. What this company, what our product service does for you is very different from what the customer feeds back to the company.
Mm-hmm.
This is why you are important to us. Those two things are very different from each other quite often. And I think having that feedback go back into the marketing piece of Salesforce, just Salesforce.com in general, it's an amazing tool because it can be as much or as little as you want it to be for your organization. You can plug in anything into it. It can be supply chain if you want it to. It can be marketing, it can be sales, it can be product fulfillment, it can be everything.
It could be analytics.
It could be in analytics. Thank you. There's often very different messages. What marketing, this military analogy, air to ground war for marketing, one to many, versus ground war sales, one to one, versus the feedback of what that company means back to the vendor. Is that those messages have to be integrated with each other, or at least have to be, the feedback has to be incorporated, and that's something that's so critical, it's so missing so often, and everywhere that I've used Salesforce, everywhere that I've used CRM systems.
You were going to say something.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, I think the big challenge we see with startups is that everybody's wearing multiple hats. They're going a mile a minute, and unfortunately, there's just not enough time to collaborate on every single thing. So you're just naturally going to have that. And then you see the opposite on enterprises that are very structured, very formal, but they're completely they're siloed, they're working with blinders on. So, and they might have completely different systems. We've worked with organizations that have 5, 6 different Salesforce orgs within their organization.
Dan,
You guys are, it's interesting. I guess I'm too simple, because I just think CRM has a common thread throughout external, internal communications. And the benefits are anybody that inputs data, sales, customer service, marketing, whatever, anybody that inputs data should benefit several times over from the time that it takes to enter that data. But it's a common thread. That's what it really is, isn't that what it is?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely. I agree, and it makes sense in practice, or in theory, I guess, but the practice is very different in that not everybody enters all their data. Sometimes you have sales members that are off doing their own thing and only enter the sale right as they're closing the deal. So it really got to practice what you preach.
Right? Which is why don't throw tools at a process problem.
A couple things. Let me interject. Got a question here, but Jason, we only have you for a few more minutes.
Sorry to be you guys.
And let me throw out an idea. After we get this question, then Jason, tell us about a case study with a startup. Tell us what they look like, why they brought you in, but then process. And they may have been using something outside Salesforce. I mean, just give us like a 3-minute case study, 4-minute case study, just to kind of explain the process or some of the vision, real quick. Like your question first.
I was just going to make a quick comment about that the CRM is for internal and external communication, and it should be just this fluid thing. But I used to be in knowledge management for software developers and engineers, and there are so many tools, just like there are for MarTech and sales. There are so many tools out there, and none of them are successful. And I feel like with Salesforce, with most CRMs too, it's the same tribal knowledge and just knowledge management problem in general. And I think it starts with process. If you don't have a process for how you're going to collect the data and it's not consistent across all of your reps, then you end up with just a gigantic, pool of data that is not queryable, it's not reportable. You have people who aren't entering data in general, and so it just tells an incomplete or an inaccurate story.
Sorry.
Thanks,
I have to get to a dinner. Nice to meet you all.
Take care.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Appreciate you. Thank
Tom
you for
James
having
Company.
me. Tom James Company. He has a few of my cards, so bye. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Okay. Good night, James. Thank you. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I think it's process, but then it's also discipline in using it as a group and everybody agreeing on it. 100%. I agree. So, as far as use cases, to answer your particular question, James, there's a company in Boulder called Scaled Agile. They basically sell the Agile methodology or framework. And they sell it to large corporations who have scaled agile consultants working